Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. Got a pretty good show for you here today. Gonna have my main man, Ryan Lankford, back to talk college football with us to kind of wrap up week 3 and look forward to a huge week 4 in college football. But before we get to that, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please go ahead, click that subscribe, that like, and that notification bell so you can be made aware anytime new content drops on the channel. If you want the audio only version of the podcast, you know what to do. Open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in the Format Podcast. We should come right up. Please, you can subscribe right there. And if you enjoy the content, give us a 5-star review. Also, leave a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm. Make sure you share the podcast with other people you know who might want to hear a different voice, giving a kind of different viewpoint to the main sports stories of the day. You know what happens when you do all these things. It helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. Now let's get right to it. All right, here we go. Back for another episode of the Format Podcast, talking college football, kind of wrap up of week 3 and look ahead to week 4. And of course, I have with me the Format Podcast official college football analyst, my main man, Ryan Lankford. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing well. Glad to be back.
Absolutely. So college football season just continues to roll and still exciting as ever and amazing things going on now. Week 3, I want to say it was a pretty weak scheduling weekend overall last year. I don't know if they kind of did that on purpose because you got some big time games coming in week 4, so maybe that was a build up for that. What did you think of week 3 overall? I know you were away with the family. Did you get an opportunity to check out?
I like I said, I was away with the family. Shout out to my mom celebrating her birthday this
Fantastic.
weekend, and we had a really good time down in Epcot. So I didn't get to see as many games as I'd like to, but it was like you said, there wasn't any big heavy hitters. I mean, other than washing the Colorado and
Yeah,
stuff
of
like
course.
that. But this upcoming week, it's gonna be a good one.
Oh my goodness, that's right. Well, if we're talking college football, Ryan, you know where we got to start. The train is not off the tracks yet, and for what, the 4th week in a row, it's Colorado and Deion Sanders, man. So, first let's start with, obviously there was a lot of build up for that. The Colorado State game is a big in-state rivalry for that particular state, Colorado, and it's interesting because coming into this season, nobody could have cared less for the last however many years. But
Right.
we had, I'm not going to call it fireworks, but we definitely had some tension going into that game. Obviously, you had Colorado State head coach Mike Norvell, and he had some interesting comments before the game. And I think, to me, it was really a much ado about nothing. What did you think about his comments about my mom taught me that when I'm talking to an adult, I take off my shades and my hat? Where were you on that?
Yeah, I didn't love it because I kind of feel like he attacked Dion a little bit.
Yeah.
He made it personal. But on that same token, I get it. Being a huge rivalry, you kind of sometimes want to give your guys a reason to, put something on the board and just, stir the pot a little bit. So I think if that was his plan, he did a phenomenal job of stirring the pot because it really got stirred up real well.
And you know what? I think I'm right there with you. That was definitely my thoughts on it. I was looking at it as where a lot of people were saying he's taking a direct shot at Dion. I personally thought he was trying to take some of the attention away from the Buffaloes and put some of the attention on his team, the Rams. And he was trying to, get his guys stirred up, get them going, and get them hype and ready to play, and not just, be cannon fodder for Colorado. And it almost worked. Game ended up being extremely close. Most of us thought that, okay, he pissed off Dion and now they're gonna go out there and get smoked, and it didn't turn out that way.
I know, I thought it.
I thought it as well.
I
Definitely.
definitely thought it. I was like, yeah, this is gonna be bad because again, I hadn't even had really paid attention to who the head coach was. I really didn't care too much. I said, all right, well, Dion and them boys, they about to turn up. They about to turn up, and it was a shootout. It was a dogfight.
And I said Mike Norvell earlier. It's Jay Norvell, so pardon me on that. But yeah, I think that Colorado State played they played the game well, other than they got penalized a lot. But overall, I think they played the game at a high level. They competed at a high level, which as an athlete, as a football player specifically, that's all you can really ask is compete at the highest level that you are able to. And it
That's
almost
it.
got them a win, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I thought it was amazing, and I thought what was crazy about it, as a side note, that game I think started at 10 p.m. Eastern time and it finished around 2:30 in the morning. Obviously a double overtimer. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I was trying to watch it. I was in and out. I doze off and
Yeah,
wake back up. Game still on.
yeah,
Like, what is happening
yeah,
here?
yeah.
And but the amazing thing, despite that being such a late night game, is that the game peaked at 11 million viewers.
That's
And
crazy.
right,
I was
and
one of them.
uh-huh. And at 2:15 a.m., it still had 8 million viewers, right?
Yeah,
It was,
yeah,
it
yeah.
was one of the highest, if one of, I believe, if not the highest streamed ESPN game ever. And
It
so,
was
that's
it was
just the
great.
power of Deion Sanders and what he's brought to that program. I think it's incredible. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I watched the whole game. And it got to a point where again, it's just been a lot of fun for me to really enjoy football again now. It was
Mhm.
tough being an athlete and kind of looking at it from a working and learning perspective, but now being able to sit back and really enjoy the game. When these moments start to happen, I kind of like, you
Mhm.
know what? Let me fight this. Even though I'm watching with one eye, let me
Yeah.
let me fight this and try to watch the whole game. And
Yeah.
I think it's just special. It's really special what Dion's doing. It's bigger than football. The way
Yes.
that
Yes, it
he's
is.
pulling people together, the way that he's encouraging, the way that he's spreading the word of God and just showing love. It's bigger than football. So I'm rooting for him, man. I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely incredible because also when you look at it, just the amount of revenue he is generating for the entire Boulder economy,
Oh
every
my
single week.
goodness. Oh
And
my
it's
goodness.
absolutely phenomenal across all fronts,
Yeah.
whether it's selling the shades or,
Yep.
whether it's the hotels there or the restaurants or the ticket sales and all these
Mm-hmm.
things. The fact that Colorado, I believe, is one of the highest selling sports apparel in America now, and
It's yeah.
right. So it's just incredible. But yeah, getting back to the game though, man, Shadur Sanders comes through in the clutch again. Where are you
Dog.
on this kid?
Dog.
What is
I
it
love
about
him.
him?
He is a competitor.
Hmm.
He's a competitor, and I think you this is why you play the game
Hmm.
for moments like that. And to watch that was awesome. Was awesome. Big time stage. This is your moment. This is the beginning because this was that one moment where their backs against the wall. Okay, here's Dion. Finally, we got these boys down,
Right, right.
and his son has to drive it 98 yards
Hmm.
and not get 7 points. Get eight. Get that. Go for two.
Yeah.
Like it was incredible. Poise, confidence. It was awesome. He's a great player.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And total team effort. His team is
Hundred
rallying
percent.
around him and helping him to make plays, but clearly
Mm-hmm.
he is the leader on that team and it's incredible to see.
Yeah.
Obviously sad part of the game. Eh, is it a sad part of the game? I guess the end result was sad, but again, football is an extremely physical game.
Yeah.
It's literally a game of imposing your will physically on the opposition. I mean, obviously there's the X's and O's piece, but it comes down to imposing your will and moving another man and making him submit to you, right? And so
Right.
we saw Colorado State defensive back Travis Henry Blackburn
Mm-hmm.
hits Travis Hunter late. Now, here's my question. Did you see that hit as being dirty or just late? Because a lot of people are saying it
I
was dirty and egregious, and I disagree. I think it was late. And obviously, it's a physical game. As a DB, you get an
right.
opportunity to want to send a message. I didn't
Right.
think it was dirty. What are your thoughts?
Right. I thought it was borderline d- dirty, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
dirty is not the right word. Maybe chippy is a better word.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because the entire build up to that moment, you could just see little ticky-tack stuff after the play, guys getting each other's face, and it wasn't a clean game from a coach's perspective.
Not at all.
If I was the coach, I'm saying, hey guys, we're losing our head here. We know we're doing things we don't need to do. Penalties are arising. So I think that it was a little chippy. I'm a little disappointed in Colorado's players that are on the field that didn't try to jump to the defense other than their Heisman hopeful quarterback to jump down there and get in the man face. But it was right on the fence. I do like what Dion said though. Dion said it was a big time hit, and no matter how you look at it, it's part of the game, right? Yes. It could be dirty. It's part of the game, and we know as players that's what we sign up for when we say we're gonna play. Things can happen, and I think he took it in stride, and unfortunately he'll be out for a few weeks. But once he's back, he's gonna be ready to go.
Yeah. I think the tough part about that, obviously you never want to see anyone get injured, but even more so than that is the fact that two of the biggest games, if not the two biggest games of the season, Oregon this week and USC next week, Travis Hunter is going to be out for both of those. And that's tough being that he's such an impact player on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So do you feel like a lot of people are overreacting to this late hit, or?
No, I think he could have done without it personally. I think that as a player, you kind of see he had enough time that he could have pulled up. But I also know you got to have those players on your team and on your defense that kind of set the tone. Same as those guys in hockey. You got to have those guys that's gonna ruffle some feathers and make some plays that ultimately could help them win the game.
Right.
And they're competing, and that's what the game is, and that's all it comes down to.
So I'm going to disagree with you a bit here. I definitely think that people are overreacting to the late hit. I think the only argument you may have is when you watch the replay, the ball, there was no way it could have been caught, so he definitely could have pulled up. It's one thing if you say, well, I thought he might have had an opportunity to catch it, but looking, you see that there was no opportunity to catch it. So I think Blackburn definitely could have pulled up. But overall, I think people are overreacting. It is a physical game. Now, I'll admit I probably have a different viewpoint of looking at it. I'm a little older. I've been watching football since the late 80s. I understand the game has changed. But, my mindset is I'm a Ravens fan, right? I know I'm a journalist. I'm not supposed to be a fan, but I'm a Ravens fan. And those 2000 Ravens, literally over the course of that season, knocked 6 quarterbacks out of games. Absolutely.
Tim Morris was knocking heads.
Laying dudes out, and again, it's a totally different NFL.
Totally different.
Now.
That's right.
It's a different sport. I get it.
That's
Safety is paramount. However, we do know physicality is part of the game, and part of that is imposing your will on that other man. And if you can do that, relatively within the confines of the rules, so be it. I think there is some overreaction, especially now you're getting, the death threats against this kid and all that. I'm like, oh, man,
that's too much. And we could park the car right here and talk about this. Fans are doing too much to athletes. Fans are forgetting that there are people behind these helmets that have the same struggles, and if not more struggles than the average person. These are humans with feelings and emotions, and we can't just talk crazy to people.
Right.
It's not the way to do it. And receiving death threats because of the game, like no one should ever receive death threats.
I agree.
That's just a situation that's not. It's not worth it. It's bigger than that.
Yeah.
It's bigger than that.
Absolutely. I think it's terrible, and but that's also a function of modern technology, and you're a keyboard warrior, and you never have to meet that person, so you can say whatever you feel. Because I guarantee you, 99% of people who say this stuff, if they had to meet this guy who is a Division I football player, which means he's probably very big and very strong as compared to the average person, they wouldn't be talking greasy like that,
And some people just can't even hold a communication face to face anyway. Even if he wasn't even trying to hurt nobody, if you're just in somebody's face, some people aren't even confident within themselves to say, hey, this is how I feel,
Yeah.
and stand on it, you know. And I
Yep.
think that's just where we're at right now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's go ahead and let's move on. We of course will be back to Colorado a little later in the show, but
Hmm.
let's take a trip down to the SEC and Alabama. Now this is interesting, right? I think they won 17-3 or 17-10 over
Hmm.
University of South Florida. Not a good team
Hmm.
at all. This is a team that in years past Alabama probably would have put 50 or 60 on it, right?
That's right.
Now,
Yep.
we've been seeing Alabama being too good for too long for me to make any type of sweeping judgments and say it's over or anything like that. That's not what I'm
Hmm.
saying. However, it is fair to say that they don't resemble what we've come to expect from them as Alabama Crimson Tide, 6 championships over the last 15 years, right? Um,
Correct.
what do you think is a big part of the issue here?
Every year, it's a different set of guys in the
Mm-hmm.
locker room
Mm-hmm.
every single year. And that comes with its strengths and it comes with its weaknesses. You know, this is a different team. This is a different Alabama. You know, this is a different college football league now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the guys are throwing the ball more than they're running the ball. So I think there's just a lot of moving pieces to really pinpoint what exactly is going on. But it's just it's a different locker room with different guys, and their tools are a little bit sharper in other places.
Okay, I hear you on that. So this is interesting to me, right? Because obviously, I'm a Notre Dame guy, and so I've been watching Tommy Rees pretty much make chicken soup out of chicken blank for some years now. At Notre Dame, i.e., Notre Dame, not necessarily for a myriad of reasons, not having the elite level offensive talent, but him still
Hmm.
being able to scheme up, very solid offenses, right? And so, he gets the job at Alabama, and I'm one of those people, maybe one of the few, but I'm thinking, man, this guy's gonna go down here with Saban. He's gonna have real freaks, athletic guys, a bunch of top 5 recruits to put in his scheme, and it's just gonna take off. And it just hasn't for whatever reason. I mean,
Yeah.
do we think it's too different from what we've seen from Alabama in the past? Do we think the scheme is too complex? Do we think it's just a QB issue? Um, where are you on that? Because I'm honestly shocked that and I'll get your thoughts on this as well. I don't know how long it takes to install a new offensive scheme. You would be more well versed in that than I would, but I'm
Hmm.
really shocked that Alabama hasn't been able to take off offensively like I thought they would with a guy who I think is an outstanding play caller and play designer in Tommy Rees. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I think there's not one thing to pinpoint it. One
Mm-hmm.
of the things is it's a different team. I don't think the scheme is too much. Alabama has great players, right? From top to bottom. Now they might not be the same caliber as what they've had in the past, but they're still smart players. You know, Nick Saban is not going to bring in players who aren't able to understand football essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just a lot of combination. And the quarterback situation affects it too, right? As a player, you don't know, who we're really rolling with, and then when you pull the starter out, now it's kind of like, wow, no one really knows what's going on, and that's hard to bounce back from sometimes.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, it's tough watching that. I'm like I said, I'm really surprised that Tommy Rees hasn't been able to get it rolling. And Saban is a guy who expects greatness. He expects success. He went and looked for Reese. I'm curious
Hmm.
to know how long the rope is if this offense kind of continues to struggle throughout this season. But I guess we'll
Yeah.
find out. Um, so we'll go SEC adjacent, Texas. After a huge win over Alabama in week 2, Texas had more trouble last week with Wyoming than they should have. Now I think they won like 30-10, but Texas,
Yeah.
oddly enough, is a team that has a tendency to play down to or play up to or play down to its competition.
Right.
Why do you think they have so much trouble maintaining that level of play? Because clearly against Alabama, they showed that they can play with the big boys. Do you think it's just a following a big game next week type letdown, or do you think that there's something culturally there that's keeping them from really consistently playing on the level they're capable of?
It could be A combination of both. Adjusting to the new, conference that they're in. Also preparation, right? All week you've got that Alabama circled, and Alabama that holds a lot
Mm-hmm.
more weight. We going to Bama. Hey, we
Right.
going to Bama. We
Right.
going to Alabama. Everyone's thinking that. That's the thing. And then when you do what you do,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got to go next week to a game that's not as hype, not as all that. It's easy to let your foot off the gas a little bit. But the beautiful thing about sports, college football, Canadian football, NFL football, anybody can lose on any day,
Mm-hmm.
just like anybody can win on any day. And you got to come prepared every week when it's game time to make the plays when the plays there. Because if you don't, you're gonna lose. Doesn't matter what you think, what you say, you got to come to play.
Okay. All right. So before we look ahead to week 4 and the huge games this weekend, I would be remiss, of course, if I didn't touch on Penn State and Illinois. That was a tough one for you as a Fighting Illini. Obviously, for your dad, the Nittany Lion. He got bragging rights at least for the rest of this
Yeah,
year.
he got him. He got him. He
Yeah,
got
yeah.
him.
Um, so tell me, Brett Bielema obviously helped Illinois make a big step forward last season when he came in after being head coach of Arkansas previously. This year, not so much. Have you been able to kind of identify what is holding back the Illini from continuing to take that step forward, or is it just the fact that they are in a brutal conference?
Yeah, they're in a brutal conference, but we can compete. We can play.
Mm-hmm.
I see
They're a really good defensive team.
great defensive team. We've got the
Mm-hmm.
ability to move the ball. We've got some weapons on offense as well. We can run the ball well. Our special teams can handle. Like we've got what it takes to compete.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some great teams in our conference as well. Penn State's a great team. Ohio State's a great team. There's a lot of great teams in the Big Ten, and I think it's taking time to catch up or get up to speed. But we can compete. I'm telling you, we can compete, and I'm confident we'll be back bowling somewhere. But we gonna make it happen.
Okay, okay. Sounds like you want to go sign up for a couple classes and put the helmet back on. What you think, Ryan?
Man, classes, no helmet though. I'm not. I did it and I lived it. I like watching from the outside, but I'll go learn something new.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. I hear you. Okay, man. So let's get to it, man. Week 4. This is a week that a lot of college football fans been waiting for. Got some huge games this week, and I think they did a fantastic job with the way they. I don't know if they did it on purpose, but the way the time slots play out. You got Florida State, Clemson, big one for pretty much ACC supremacy at noon. You got at 3:30, you got Colorado at Oregon. That's huge. Following that at 7:30, you have Ohio State at Notre Dame. 3 fantastic games this weekend. All 3 I'm looking forward to. So let's start at the bottom with Clemson and Florida State. So Clemson's been the bully of the ACC for quite some time now, probably the last 8 or so years. And it looks like Florida State is back. I think Florida State's number 4 in the nation right now. Yeah, they look very good, and they look to be back. And this is going to be an opportunity to find out if Clemson's done, because obviously they lose this game. They already have a conference loss, surprisingly, to Duke, who I guess is better than people think. And if they lose this game, that's pretty much it for any playoff hopes or conference championship hopes. And we saw what Florida State can be when they're at their best. Obviously, beating up a good LSU team in the opener, but barely scraping out a win at Boston College last week. So, what are your thoughts on this Florida State Clemson game? And is it over for Dabo?
I don't think it's over for Dabo. I think he can rally the troops, but I think this is going to be a tough rally, though. Florida State's a good team.
Very good.
And they look a lot better than what I've seen in the past years. Now, the thing about it is Florida State's always had like that little sparkle of like, hey, this might be it. This might be, and then it just doesn't happen. This year, I feel like they really got the pieces in order. They really know what they're doing, and they're rolling forward. So I think Florida State's going to be able to handle business.
I think so too. I think one of the biggest things I'm hearing is that Dabo Sweeney is adamant about not wanting to participate in NIL. He's adamant in not wanting to utilize the transfer portal, and he's got to realize that that's just the face of college football now. And if you don't want to use those, you're going to get left behind.
You got to adapt and improvise. You got to. You have to.
Right, right. Okay, so second game of the day I mentioned, and this is, man, I would not be surprised if this peaked at 15 million viewers. This is Colorado at Oregon. This is absolutely huge. Colorado again will be the underdog, probably for the second time out of 4 games so far this year. And now we mentioned earlier, Travis Hunter is out. He's injured. He won't play this game. The question is, can Deion Sanders and that coaching staff push the right buttons again? Can Shedeur Sanders deal with the noise and the raucous environment at Autzen Stadium, which we know, I don't know if you ever played there, but it's known to be one of the toughest road environments in the country. Yeah, I don't know. It's a function of the way it's built. I think the field is like built down into the ground. And so it's supposed to be super, super loud in there. And I tell you what, Dan Lanning, head coach of Oregon, obviously he was a former defensive coordinator at Georgia. And his goal coming out to Oregon was to build that team in an SEC mold. And he's done a great job, real big bodies, athletic, physical guys in the trenches. And I think that's where Colorado is weak. What are your thoughts on this game, and who would you pick if you had to make a wager? I'm not into the gambling thing, but
I gotta go with Deion just because I'm rolling with them and the culture that they're building. But I 100% agree with you. If Colorado is going to lose, where they're going to lose is in the trenches. They weren't able to get that level of player yet, and that takes time.
Right. You said yet.
You know what I mean?
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's O linemen and D linemen coming out of high school this year that's like, I'm going where Deion at because I'm watching the tape and I see Deion got his scouts looking back saying, look, once we get a D line, once we get an O line that look like these boys, we're unstoppable because we playing with what we got now. So I think that's what's really going to separate the game this week. And the game is won in the trenches. The game is run in the trenches. So what will help Colorado will be some big plays, explosive plays. They're going to have to eat up yards when they can. Defense is going to have to put some points on the board. Those help. Those are better than 3 and outs, right? If you can get a pick 6, that's huge because that's points. So the defense is gonna have to get some points, and they're gonna have to eliminate penalties again, and handle the ball and put points on the board, touchdowns, not field goals.
I hear you on that. And you mentioned talking about guys coming out of high school in the trenches that are going to want to come play for Deion. Now, on that D line, before we get back to the game, Warren Sapp is likely going to be a member of that coaching staff next year, a Hall of Fame defensive tackle. You think he can't coach D-line? You think he's not going to be able to? There you go. You think
he can't recruit too?
That's right. That's right.
You're going to have people that's signing with whoever got the best signing with Alabama, thinking they're going to play O-line for Alabama and say, nah, I'm going with Warren Sapp. Nah, I'm going with Deion.
That's right. Yeah. So definitely. And that's why, and I'll say it again, I've been saying this since the beginning, Colorado is going to win the Big 12 next year, and they may have a legitimate opportunity to get to a playoff. I mean, it is scary, how good that team is going to be next year in the Big 12. But if I had to pick one, I would say I would probably go with Oregon just for that reason that you mentioned, that games are won in the trenches. And by the way, you might be the first wide receiver to ever say that.
They are. I mean, you can run great routes, but if the defensive end is getting free and the quarterback doesn't believe that he's going to have time, you're not getting the ball. You're not getting a catchable ball or a ball that you can make a play with. That's that people don't think about. Like, it's not that the quarterback's running for his life back there. He can't think about his progression. So we need our O-line and we need our D-line to wreak havoc. So the quarterback thinks like that. And our defense can cheat a little bit and make some plays. So
it's definitely going to be interesting to see what Deion and his coaching staff are going to be able to draw up to try and hold tight down there with the big boys. It's going to be very interesting. All right. This is the one I've been waiting for. This is the one I've been waiting for. That's the night game, 7:30 NBC, Ohio State, the Ohio State for those
The
that,
Ohio
all
State.
right. What's up with the, by the way? What is that about?
I don't know. They did it. They said it. Ohio State says it. We Illinois, we don't really say it. I tried
Right,
it one
right.
time. It just didn't hit. It didn't
Yeah.
work. It didn't work too
I
well.
got you. So yeah, you got the Ohio State at Notre Dame. And this one's gonna be crazy because crazy stat, Notre Dame has not beaten Ohio State since I want to say 1934.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
they don't play that much, but
Right.
it's been a long time. And this Notre Dame team looks different this year. And I'm not saying that because I'm an Irish fan. I'm saying that because in watching them play year after year, it's been a long time since we've had a quarterback who looks the way Sam Hartman looks. And granted that, they haven't played the elite of the elite competition yet. NC State, very solid defensive team, but Sam Hartman so far 13 touchdowns, no interceptions this season. This is his 50th college start. I mean, the guy has tons of experience. Meanwhile, Ohio State's quarterback, this is going to be, I think, his third college start, right? Third or fourth. And so, yeah. And so, I think that may be a big difference. What are some of the keys to this game for you? Notre Dame, number 9, Ohio State, number 6.
Yeah, in these big games, penalties are big because it's going to come down to field position and yards. So if you're giving up yards, teams are giving up 100 yards of penalties. That's the whole length of the field. You know what I mean?
Great.
Like,
that's a great point.
People don't think about that. So
No.
penalties are huge because that's yardage that you're giving. So you gave someone a free walk down the whole field with your 100 yards of penalties this week.
Right.
So penalties are going to be big. Turnovers are huge too because turnovers stop momentum, take people back, put doubt in your mind,
or create momentum,
or create momentum too. And both of these guys got playmakers. Offense, Ohio State's got some great receivers.
Oh yeah.
Notre Dame's loaded too. They got some players, and then I think too playing at Notre Dame is probably crazy. Night game, that environment is probably exciting, and that's gonna juice them up too. So I don't know. I need Ohio State to lose for Illinois, but
right.
I would like to see Notre Dame do it. I would like to see Notre Dame do it. That would be cool. But it's gonna come down to turnovers, time of possession. Not so much time of possession, more so turnovers. Because if you can put points right off of a turnover, that's a big number to track too.
Yeah. So that's a great point that you make. Because you look at the last big home night game Notre Dame won was last year. Clemson was number 4. They came in there and Notre Dame smacked them around, I think 42-14. Our All-American corner Benjamin Morrison had 2 interceptions. One of them was a pick 6. Notre Dame also, I think, had 2 blocked punts in the game. One of them returned for a touchdown. Now, obviously, you can't count on stuff like that, but I think those are the type of plays that you're speaking to that lead to, tide turning situations that can, make for big wins. I don't know that Ohio State is going to give you that. I think I'm going to love the Benjamin Morrison, Marvin Harrison Jr. matchup, an elite corner versus an elite wide receiver. I'm going to love to see that. I don't know if Benjamin Morrison is going to travel with him. I hope so, but I don't think that's the way Notre Dame plays defensively. So we'll see. And the thing is, you concentrate so much on Marvin Harrison Jr., then Emeka Egbuka could kill you. And even if you manage to control the 2 of them, which for the most part they did last year, I think between the 2 of them in last year's game, they were targeted 22 times. They had 14 catches for, I want to say, like 140 something yards. So neither of them really went off. Marvin Harrison Jr. had like 5 catches for 50 something yards against Notre Dame last year. Notre Dame just didn't have the offensive firepower to be able to take advantage of it. And I think that may be the difference this year. Not obviously Notre Dame doesn't have the firepower man for man like Ohio State does, but they have a quarterback that can spread it around and make the throws. And for the first time in a long time, Notre Dame can even pass to set up the run versus having to run to set up the pass. So
Right.
uh,
Right.
it's going to be interesting. Even saying all that, I think this game is completely a pick 'em
Mm-hmm.
because Ohio State is just, as always, so talented. But something I was telling one of my buddies earlier today, who's a big Ohio State guy, I was telling him, if I'm Notre Dame and I'm on that coaching staff all summer long and leading up to this game, I've been watching footage of Michigan for the last 2 years against
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State. And I'm saying, okay, let me pull what I can pull from what they did that can work within my scheme to have success, because Michigan plays a lot like Notre Dame would like to play in terms of being a power run team first and then
Mm-hmm.
playing off of that, being physical up front, offensive line dominant, etc. And so if you're Notre Dame, you should be watching that Michigan film and saying, okay, we can tweak some of this and we could tweak some of
Yeah.
that and utilize
Yeah.
that. What are your thoughts on that? Did your coaching staff in the past, did they do things like that, or were they kind
Yeah.
of, this is what we do and this is, we're going to execute it to the best we can?
Yeah. No, you gotta watch film. You gotta watch the games that they play.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta watch individuals. There's levels to film study. There's stuff that coaches do. They watch the schemes. We track tendencies,
Oh,
where
yeah.
we know the type of coverage that they're going to come at a certain part of the game, right? So we know that, first down, they're going to run this coverage. We know that if we're coming out of the goal line, they're going to run this coverage. 60% of the time they run this on first down. On second and short, they run this. So
Mm-hmm.
they break it all the way down. So if they're doing their job right, it's a numbers game, and then you see, and then you build within that, your game plan. So it's going to be exciting to see. I mean, there's going to be a lot of energy, a lot of
Yeah.
juice, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited to see what happens.
I'm definitely excited to see it, and I will be watching our running back, our star running back, Audric Estime. We call him Baby Bus. He's in the mold of Jerome Bettis when he was at Notre
Yeah,
Dame. Jerome
that's
Bettis is
awesome.
number 6 and Estime's number 7. We definitely, Baby Bus. And if you
Yeah,
watch
yeah.
this guy, he has the power to truck guys and run them over. But if he gets in the open field, he can take off and take it to
Yeah.
the house. But again, Ohio State, I mean, they're always loaded. You've got Travion Henderson. You've got that wide
Hmm.
receiver room. You've got a quarterback who, while inexperienced, he's got a hose. And obviously, if
Hmm.
you're a quarterback at the Ohio State, then you're doing something right, right?
That's right.
The
That's right.
average,
That's right.
average Joe is not going there to play quarterback.
Hmm. Hmm. I agree. I agree. And y- they're a great program, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're one of the programs, especially when you think Big Ten. You think Big Ten, you think Ohio State, or you
Mm-hmm.
think Big Ten, Michigan. Like
Mm-hmm.
those are the programs
Yes.
that are up there. So again, this is an exciting game, and Notre Dame can do it. Notre Dame can do it. We'll
Yeah,
see.
I think for the first time, there's really a feeling like Notre Dame can play pretty much snap for snap with
Hmm.
another elite team, and they have
Hmm.
an opportunity to show something. So we'll see what
Hmm.
happens there. We'll see what
Yeah, we
happens.
will. We
Yeah.
will.
So honorable mention of the big games this weekend is Ole Miss at Bama. You have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, Bama, we're rooting for the Bama at our house,
Yeah.
But my girl made a great point. It might not be that championship year,
Hmm.
which we're disappointed about because we are
Hmm.
trying to win championships every year. So
Right.
hopefully they get it together. Hopefully they can get a little, I was going to say camaraderie, but it's not camaraderie. Little mesh together,
Hmm.
go down there, win the game, and go on a run, get on a roll. So I'm going
Right.
Alabama.
Yeah. I want to say, I believe Kirby Smart is the only former Saban assistant to have beaten him. I want to say maybe Jimbo, but I believe it's just Kirby. And so Lane Kiffin certainly hasn't. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can get that done. Ole Miss
Yeah,
they're another power running team. Obviously,
they
Lane
are.
Kiffin is outstanding play caller himself. Yeah, it's going to be something to see, definitely.
Yeah, I think Bama. I'm pulling Bama. I'm pulling for him. I'm pulling
I
for
hear
him.
you.
But Ole Miss is strong. Ole Miss
Right.
is a good team.
There you go.
Good team.
All right, Ryan. Well, listen, man, thanks so much. Thanks for taking the time out to join us once again. And man, enjoy your Saturday. Sit back,
Yes,
get everything done early so you can sit on that couch from noon until you until you hit the bed,
you
and
know it.
watch all
You
these
know
great
it.
games. Yes, sir.
You know it.
All right, man. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And once again, if you haven't already, please click that subscribe, that like, and that notification bell. Make sure you stay up to date whenever new content comes out. And we'll get back with you next week, me and Ryan, to wrap up this incredible weekend of college football. And I'm out.
See ya.
Peace.